Good evening and welcome to Let's Drone Out. Someone keeps going around and kidnapping our hosts. So at the moment, there is no Andy on video and Jack has disappeared. So he might escape and resurface at some point. We don't know. But we do have... Oh, there we go.
Back. I'm sorry. If you can't tell, I had to run to the toilet. You guys kind of know that anyway, so I don't even need to announce it.
Well, we couldn't tell from here, but now we do.
Oh, God, you guys know what the hell I'm like. I just had to go. I was like...
I was going to introduce people, but do you want to introduce people as you're back?
Hello, and welcome to Let's Drone Out. I didn't realise we were live.
I thought he was talking to the viewers when he said
take all that stuff about the toilet back. It was just a joke.
There's no getting around it. Tony's explained why.
Yeah, dear.
But oh well. I just went for a quick wank. Tony came on and I had to come. Right. So tonight we are joined by Frank.
Good evening.
Andy RC.
Hello, everyone.
Who might be naked because he refuses to come on camera.
That is exactly the reason why my camera's off. Yes.
Andy, please, not because you're naked, but please, can we see your boat race?
I'm just not feeling camera ready today, Tone. What can I say?
He's got his canoe out.
Oh man,
It's too hot up north. I'm naked.
you said that about when I saw you the other day, and I thought you looked great.
Yeah, it's gone downhill since then, Tone. For sure.
What, in three days or something?
Body dysmorphic.
Also, like it's actually 94 degrees in this room in Fahrenheit. I put it in Fahrenheit. So I don't have very many clothes on. I know that offends a lot of the viewers watching live. So I thought, it's best. Plus I can do what I want now. No one can see me. I could be doing anything right this second.
Yeah, but we might be able to hear it.
Tony's up on my screen at the moment, so that's all the information I'll give for now.
Anyway, we are also joined by Tone Star.
What's up? Hello.
And Curry Kitten.
Hello.
And
what happened to it used to be me and you last, but now Curry Kitten's taken my place. I'm not happy about it, to be honest.
So
I think I'm gonna have a row about it. Actually,
you're complaining you're not in last place.
And I
should
always be my biggest loser, Tony.
It should be me, and then Jack last as the introductions. That's all I'm saying.
Well, he hasn't come to himself yet. He will be last.
No, but it's now you and then him because you're his new Stardew little happy gay little lover thing.
Right.
Not that I'm not jealous or anything.
Right. So this is how I do it, everyone. This is my screen. Present to everyone, please, Frank. Right. And this is how my screen works. See, I read from left to right like the normal people. So there's Andrew, there's Andy, well, Andrew / Frank. And then there's Let's Drone Out, which I ignore because that's the parent thing. Then there's Tony, and then there's Wayne, and then I go, "Hi, I'm Brighton to Life Live." If Tony ever shuts the F up. And then this brings me on to my new segment of the show. Yeah, we've got a new segment, everyone.
So there's still the Andy RC up north thing.
No, it's the Andy RC goes to the old-fashioned people.
No. There's a new one. No. It's called Agony RC. where you can email your like personal problems to agonyandrc@gmail.com. And
I like this.
And you can do it anonymously.
Jack, how am I going to tell the difference? I get so much stuff like that anyways.
Well, you set up a new account.
Is that Tony having a beer? I thought there was a beer shortage in the UK.
Not in my house, bro.
Where did you find that? Isn't there something about there's a carbon dioxide shortage or something?
Yeah, I just got a straw and blew into mine.
So anyway, Andy, can you help me with my problem?
I'll try. Go on, Jack.
So like, I've got this like old friend who I tolerate.
Friend in quotation marks. Okay.
Yeah,
I tolerate,
and then like I've got a new friend, and then the old friend is jealous of the new friend.
New friend.
So I don't know what to do.
I would perhaps show more love to the old friend than you currently are doing, and you know, it will even out, even though you don't want to, because I have a feeling that you're not putting in the same amount of effort as you were previously to now. And so that will be my advice to.
But my old friend doesn't want to join me on my big gay farm, so then I have to name NPCs after my old friend just so I can pretend he's there. What do I do?
Just accept what your old friend's wishes, and
I don't know what he wants. He's like demented.
So my advice would be nicer to Tony.
We're not mentioning names. This is Agony RC. It might not be Tony.
It may or may not be Tony.
Yeah.
And you know, just to appreciate that Wayne goes on your stream.
Stop!
And...
Stop.
This is about me. What? Hey.
That would be my advice.
Oh, thank you, Andy.
What's the football scores?
No one cares.
30 runs to nothing.
Oh, we've got 41 people watching. Who'd have thought that nerds aren't into football?
So for our American listeners, that's the round ball, not the egg-shaped ball.
Soccer.
This is the game where you use your feet to kick the ball. It's that one.
Yeah, not
it's that sort of football.
Yeah.
Have any of you got bets on the game, or is that not a thing? You know, I'm not a sports fanatic. No one's got bets on the game.
No.
I always think it's better to bet.
Has anyone said the word drone yet?
No.
We're building up to it.
Yeah, getting there.
I always think it's better to bet on English football than American football, because at least with English football, the ball's round, a little bit more predictable, and the the direction it shoots off in. That's all my opinion on sports. Right now.
It was very informed and expert. That was the main thing about it. Lost me in the technical details slightly.
But there's there's another thing I know. There's something called VAR. Do you guys know about? Have you heard about this? VAR. It stands for video. Which I don't know if this is actually what it stands for, but I'm gonna make it up now. It stands for video assisted referee, and apparently, Tony. Yes, I thought you hated football, Tony.
Oh my God, this makes me want to kill myself.
I don't watch football, but England are playing, so it's like you know, get a beer, get involved,
like a patriotic Brexit sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, anyways, yes, they're using video assistance referees, and that's what got Germany knocked out, and that's everything I know about football.
That's more than I know.
Well, there you go.
That's all you need to know is Germany got knocked out.
Let me just do a straw poll on whether anyone cares. Hang on.
We're 9 minutes in, and
anyway,
no one's mentioned anything about drones.
Wayne did some homework.
Let me jump onto the drone thing then, because I was suggesting what we talk about today, and it touched a nerve, because what I watched is some stuff from Chad Nowak, Final Glide Oz, and he got in trouble with CASA, which is the Australian equivalent of the CAA, or what is it, the FAA in the US, I think. And it was about a video, I think we might all be familiar with it, where he's flying in a place called Moreton Island, and it's the one where he flies out into the sea, and there's whales going past, and it's beautiful deserted beaches. Really, I have to say, my sort of video, because it's kind of exploring, looking at a space, not just spinning around and gubbins like this. Apparently, it was on YouTube for over a year, and then someone complained about it to CASA, and this basically spurred them into action. They didn't just look at it and say, "Oh, it looks all right to me. He's just over a deserted beach. What's the problem?" And it turned out that they got together. They had a board meeting. Some woman flew 3 hours on a plane to go and see him and interviewed him for a whole day. They then went back and spent more weeks writing a report. And he was facing the possibility of like a small fine or a big fine, having his commercial drone license taken away, putting his actual pilot's license under pressure. And it was all because he flew about 800 meters away over deserted sand dunes in a quad, and they decided it was dangerous and could cause serious harm to the people that weren't there. That was it.
That's actually ridiculous, isn't it?
So what we're looking at is like a technical rule infringement where there's no common sense throughout the ruling. And but further than that, because he made a follow-up video about it and basically said, you know, that the problem is here that we don't have any power. We are a tiny little niche, and the fight for the sub 500-foot airspace is going to be incredible because people like Amazon and Google are going after it, and they have like, here's a big bunch of money, don't let anybody else in the sky. And we're like, but yeah, we've been here. And it's kind of like every time a ruling comes up, we're all pretty upset about it, and we're like, oh well, you know, it's not so bad, but there's nothing we can really do. And his sort of point of view was, you know what, just screw the rules, carry on, fly safe. We all know when something's safe, don't we? Because basically, if I fall out of the sky now, am I going to hit someone or someone's property? If I'm just going to damage my quad in the field, who cares? And just carry on. And I'm like, I think that's all what we all need to do. Somewhat controversially, perhaps, saying, you know what, just ignore the rules, but just fly safe. But I think it's kind of a fight back, if you like. So it kind of touched a nerve with me.
Yeah, it's almost like the kind of social justice warrior version for drones, isn't it? It's like attacking something that isn't really offending anyone for the sake of attacking them or making people aware of something that isn't really a problem. But you know, that's my sort of take on it.
Yeah, so for me, it was kind of like if you're on the motorway, and in the UK, for people that I'm watching, we can drive on the motorway at 70 miles an hour. So if I sat there in the middle lane at 70 miles an hour and someone overtook me and I said to the police, this guy just overtook me at 72 miles an hour, he must break in the law, therefore, you know, get him, they'd tell you to bugger off. Similarly, if you just sat there in the outside lane doing 70 miles an hour, they'd pull you over for blocking all the traffic. And you could say, well, surely that's as fast as I could possibly go. And they wouldn't allow it. So there's loads of times when the sort of the legal aspect of what you can do is kind of common sense takes over, but not in this because there's so much hysteria over drones.
Well, I think the issue with flying beyond visual line of sight, as I understand it, then they're probably not worried about people on the ground, but every time it comes up, it's always about if you can't see it, you can't see whether or not there are other aircraft in the air that could be manned aircraft that you might be conflicting with, and you wouldn't know to avoid it.
But this is where the 500-foot rule comes in. If everybody stays below that 500-foot airspace, it's like we're there below it, other aircraft are above it. Therefore, what can possibly go wrong? It's like
there are other aircraft that fly low, like lots of helicopters and microlights and things like that fly at low level and are allowed to. For the purposes of, particularly, you know, in Australia, for purposes of their like professional, you know, requirement, and they are particularly the aircraft that would be susceptible to a drone strike.
Although in that case, they'd have to file some sort of permission or something with the governing body, and thus that will be known about to people, wouldn't it? So you could presumably see if there were going to be actual aircraft in your area that would be low level flying.
I think there's still also, you don't want to have it down to one person making an error. You know, it's like if one person makes an error and it becomes lethal, that's not safe enough for aviation. You know, you need to have at least 2 human mistakes for it to become a potentially lethal situation.
There's also a thing about how CASA decided what was beyond visual line of sight, because they suggested anything more than 100 meters away is beyond visual line of sight. If you go behind a solid object for longer than it takes to blink, you'll be on visual line of sight. And obviously, if you're flying without a spotter, you'll be on visual line of sight because nobody can see it.
Are you not allowed to blink anymore when flying?
You can blink really quickly, but don't rub your eyes or anything, because that, or even look away, because that would be illegal.
Are you allowed to sneeze?
No.
Can you get arrested for sneezing?
No sneezing.
Oh,
that is finable offence now.
I'm out. I'm leaving the hobby, guys.
But I think that makes sense. If you're not paying attention to it, then it's the same as if you're driving. If you're not looking at the road for an extended period of time.
But
we're looking through the camera, aren't we?
Sneezing and driving is worse than drink driving, in my opinion. I've sneezed and crossed 3 lanes.
Oh, Tony, you make me laugh.
I'm ashamed to admit it. The most dangerous thing in a car is my mother and a bee being in the same car at the time. Because
that's worse than drink driving.
Yeah, she grabbed the steering wheel and reared me into across the road, nearly into a farmer's gate, and then got out the car as if she was on fire.
There you go.
You wouldn't get in trouble probably if you just said, "Oh, it was a bee." So that's what we should do. Oh, my drone went out of line of sight. Oh, it was a bee that was flying.
There was a bee in my pants. I'm sorry.
But I mean, you should concentrate on what you're doing. But of course, if being beyond visual line of sight doesn't mean you can't see. You can clearly see out your camera, and you can.
But you can't see behind you.
Well, you can spin your drone around a lot quicker than you can turn your head round, can't you? If you want to see behind yourself.
If you've got someone,
unless you're an owl,
you've got, if you've got a competent observer, their job is to look and see if there's any other air traffic around.
But he's not allowed to look behind him for longer than it takes for him to blink.
Although the thing I find, and flying with a spot is pretty good, especially when you're crashing for finding stuff. The thing is, as soon as
he's got a good nose like my dog,
beyond about 200 or 300 meters, you kind of lose perspective. Your sort of drone out a certain distance may look like it's right up to some trees, which are another couple of 100 meters away. I don't necessarily think it's super safe. I mean, you can always do things like, okay, well, I'm going to go beyond line of visual sight, but I'm going to go beneath the treetops. Surely that can't possibly have any danger.
You would imagine that would be fine. But, then it's sort of where do you draw the line? Because if you're flying in a valley, you'd also imagine that was fine. But as we know from Hidden Valley, sometimes some twerp comes flying down below the hills and down the valley. That's happened before, and we've had to all hit the deck.
But Bradders can't help it sometimes. That's the green stuff that he inhales.
I think what's interesting about this is it's a locational thing as well. Like, okay, so Chad is based in Australia, but what if the video was shot in the UK or Los Angeles? How could they have still charged him?
No, they couldn't. It was a purely Australian thing. It was a place called Moreton Island.
Well, that's quite worrying, isn't it? That's quite worrying, because is it going to be the case that all of a sudden the other authorities start doing the same to us and making it like me and Tony at the weekend at the cooling towers?
Well, I've already reported you two.
That's only because you're jealous because you weren't there, Jack.
Yeah. We had a lovely day without Jack, me and Andy RC. It was lovely and quiet. It was nothing boisterous. No visits to the lab or anything like that.
It was just love. It was just pure love for each other, wasn't it?
It was weird. In the little live stream I saw, the first thing Tony did is shout, "Fucking stand on it!" Then, and when
to be fair, it really went wrong on the live stream,
didn't it? Just. Oh dear! But we got it under control. That was an epic day, though. Them cooling towers were great. Bit scary, but great.
I think we should all go on a camera strike. Everyone turn their cameras off till Andy RC turns his on.
Okay, I agree.
I'm gonna call this bullying right now.
I totally agree.
Social justice warrior.
And don't talk to him either. Don't acknowledge him. Silly.
I can't though, because I really like him.
Falling with Style has an interesting point in the chat. They're saying Morton Island is a tourist destination with a private helipad and heli tours. So that could definitely...
Yeah, so they bought the airspace, basically.
Well, that's one way of looking at it, but also...
And you're not allowed to FPV and be Australian.
I doubt that's the case. Admittedly, I don't know the laws in Australia, but I imagine that the whole point is there is a lot of air traffic around there.
Well, I think it's going to all depend upon circumstances. It's okay. Yep, there's a helipad there. How many flights a day? Did Chad check out what was happening? Was he causing a danger? It's kind of like, well, this is what could happen if we deal also always with like, this is what could happen. What if you went out of control and flew up to 33,000 feet and hit the aircraft that was flying along? That would be bad, wouldn't it? But that seems remarkably unlikely. And
also, to be honest, I don't think the aircraft that are at 33,000 feet are probably that bothered by a drone hitting it. To be honest, looking through the reports that came out a few months ago, it's the light aircraft that fly low that don't have bird strike rated windscreens.
Yeah, all they're worried about is microlights and helicopters with a... Yeah, that's all they're really worried about, aren't they?
Well, it depends who you ask. If you ask the general public, it's all about bringing down, or I say the general public, if you ask the press, drones are going to be responsible for killing hundreds of people at a time by hitting commercial aircraft.
They're also going to be
reality,
on people.
Mostly about the light aircraft and potentially helicopter tail rotors. That might have the bigger problem.
Yeah, Frank's right. You got a perv on people as well.
Yeah, according to the media, they're going to take down airliners and they're going to be used for spying through people's windows. But we know that that's bollocks.
Impossible to perv at 75 miles an hour.
It is. What you need to do is fly through the window to get a better view, because with wide-angle lenses, you need to be up close.
Yeah.
Andy, come on. We're all off here. Were you dressed yet and can come on?
No, I will not.
Stop masturbating.
Just put your video on so we can all come back.
No, I have no control over your video feed. It is my choice. It's my choice as a person, my privacy. As we're talking about privacy, I feel like I've been taunted. I totally agree. The drone users, all they want to do is spy on you in your bedroom. From the evidence I'm seeing here.
Does anyone know how to update Firefox?
You put our ratings up when you're in your top.
Yeah, exactly. I'm being
exploited.
I'm being exploited. I'm being marginalized.
Who's got the longest range quad? Who can fly to Andy RC's house and spy on him and then live stream that?
What, that up north? I don't know about that.
Let's use one of the GPRS ones or 4G ones. They'll do it.
Tony's closest. And anyway, they're two new best friends anyway.
Nah, me and Tony have always been best friends from day one, man.
Exactly. Ooh, friend. Ooh, friend.
Oh, jealous much, Tony. Oh.
Ooh, friend. Right, I'm coming back on the screen. I can't handle it anymore. Come on, people. Come back.
I will be back. Don't worry. I'm just having an off day.
What's wrong with you, man?
I just not.
Have you walked into a door again? Has your mum got a bit rough with you?
It's just really hot. I feel uncomfortable.
Even
I bet he's
more
sitting there in the smashing bowels.
more uncomfortable than when we were spooning that time.
Being sent a sample by Barbwell.
A sample? No, I'm just not today.
Fair enough. We'll let you off.
Only
this time, but the ratings are going to go down for this video.
They are not. The ratings are higher than ever before. So yeah, we had an awesome time at the towers. I have a feeling that I think a lot of people visited that spot recently. I don't know why, just sort of word of mouth and stuff.
Yeah, it was me and my mate Jokervision went up there, Danny, and we went up. He drove.
New friend.
New friend.
Takes two to replace me, doesn't it, Tone?
Danny, only because of the size of you.
Oh, man.
Sorry, that just came out.
Fat shaming. Don't worry, Carlos fat shamed me as well. So it's fine.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jack.
Sorry.
You do it to me.
I'll stop taking the steroids and shit myself thin.
Can I just say though, right? Even though like it was like awesome to reflect back on, it was. We went to this quarry first of all, didn't we? And that was pretty chilled there. But when you
go splunking,
yeah, we did. And Tony's dog had a little swim.
Did.
That was fun because of like a little pond there. But when we got to the towers, it was stressful as hell, I think. Or well, I certainly thought it was. It's only on like reflection watching the footage back. But like to get in there is a chore, and once you're there, it's scary as hell. And you know, but yeah, it was. And I know Jack would have come as well. He had an appointment, so he couldn't have. But it would have been.
No,
nice
all right, Tony. Do you want to tell them what I've been up to?
FPV buttholing.
Yay! Jack had a camera up his arsehole. Yeah, fantastic. Tony likes to.
I didn't say anything. I haven't told anyone anything.
Give out my.
You say all this. You say all this, and it's you always tell everyone.
I think if you'd have got a picture of you on the table with fat sharks on, and
that would have been a great fucking picture
of an amazing tunnel to look through. That would have been a good picture.
I was tempted to take a photo of the inside and then Photoshop a little Tony in there. Tony, selling it as a postcard that says, "Wish you were here."
Oh dear.
You never know, Tony. You might be lucky. They might be cutting the end of my knob off, so I might give you that in a jar.
Please, God, wear it round my neck.
All right, it's up to you.
Oh dear. No, but getting back on topic because we never stray off it. Very rarely. It was yeah, we had a good time. We went to Cooling Town.
I actually have some information though, Tony, that I think if we'd have known at the
Shock HD. Oh, NJ, you're not too busy watching the football, are you?
Well, can someone tell me the score, please?
Shock HD. Yeah, no. They did a program on those towers. It turns out on Channel 4. It was called. Guess what? The program was called "Drones in Forbidden Zones."
Really?
What, my bumhole?
Yeah, but it's not what you think.
Oh, is it the one with the guy from Time Team?
Yeah, I've seen that.
Oh, I like him.
So basically, the angle of that program was that it's too dangerous to send people.
Great, we're losing. Sorry.
What's the score, Tone?
Apparently, we're losing 1-0. Sorry, carry on, Andy.
So yeah, no, the angle of the program was it's too dangerous to send people into the site, so they sent a drone in to film it, and it turns out that there are a load of like big massive holes underneath the towers, and
fucking hell, landmines and shit.
They could collapse at any moment, so they sent. I think, and like we felt quite scared, and it was daunting sat at the bottom just because there is just so much concrete above you, and the walls are so thin. So I think, and knowing what I know, we probably wouldn't have gone. But yeah, quite scary. Look it up, drones in Forbidden Zones. If you were wondering, should I go to these towers or not? Maybe watch that first.
I hear Mikey Dread went up as well and got chased off by a farmer with a shotgun and everything.
Yeah, we're walking.
Really?
We're
walking about the shotgun bit.
We're walking across.
I made that bit up.
We're walking across this field, and I was feeling like, anxious anyway. And then Danny, I think it was Danny, said, "Oh, can you imagine if the farmer's just over there with a gun pointing at us right now?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we need that to worry about right now." So,
it was worth it though. It was a good meeting up with you, and it was a good little couple of hours we had there. I really enjoyed it. It was a little bit scary, but it was good. We met Jab 1A and Kelsey FPV as well. They took us to a quarry that they found, so that was pretty cool. Yeah,
I suppose the question is, whilst you were flying around the outside of towers on the inside, were you losing visual line of sight? And did you kill any babies in the process?
Yeah,
Well,
as an FPVer, it's your job to murder babies.
Well,
Also, can I shame Tony? Sorry, Andy RC.
all right.
Tony decided to try and invite Kelsey FPV, and I told her beforehand, you're not allowed to come on till you're 18.
I asked her if she wanted to come on with her dad, and her dad said yes, and so did she.
Oh my God, man, he does not know what he's in for.
Well, I'm sure we can behave that night, surely.
No, we'll end up on a list, mate.
We can.
You're already on it. I won't end up on it. You're on it. So
what am I? No one told me.
Well, they're not. They don't tell people like you that you're on it.
I thought you were meant to tell people. That's the point. Megan's law.
Anyway, I asked her dad and her at the same time. So, and she was up for it, and he was. So, maybe we shouldn't just have you on that day, and it'll probably go all right.
Yeah. Did you see the drone with a Glock on it?
Yes, that's quite an old video. Apparently, that's where that's like a gun that's firing, isn't it? And it got brought up by the media recently, but it's actually a couple of years old.
Is that the one that was done by the high school kid who did it for his like tech project?
Something like that.
His teachers thought it was fine until it hit the media, and then everyone thought, no, that's not fine.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, but to answer Wayne's question, so he said, when you go behind the towers, do you lose visual line of sight? Yes, but you also lose video. So you'll notice in all of our videos that we never went behind the towers, and we always kept. If you stand at the bottom of the tower, because they are curved like an hourglass, when you stand at the bottom and look up, you actually looking up at the outside of the tower and the inside, because it's like very thin. So I think we never lost visual line of sight. The worst thing was inside the tower, because it's circular, the reflections of the video was just awful. So the multipathing of the signal bouncing off the circle. So funnily enough, you've got a clear line of sight of your video signal, but it's crap because of all the reflections.
So what you need to do is go there with Painless and his rapid fire module and have a comparison.
Well,
that does actually clear it up.
I used Clearview, and I put 2 patches on in the end and pointed one behind me at one tower and one up through the middle, and I didn't have too bad a signal in the end. But one of my quads fail saved on Crossfire, but I got home and found why my Crossfire Immortal antenna was rubbing on my frame and rubbed right through. So basically, it was
shorting out.
It was not working properly.
That's fair.
So that's the start of the video. That's why
you had a Kiss ESC go out as well.
And then I know Kiss ESC.
You mean you didn't do your range test beforehand, Tony?
No, I done it the day before.
It's something that happened while flying, I think, because you were having no problems, and then all of a sudden it just cut out, didn't it? So,
yeah, it was very annoying. So I had to nurse both quads that I took that day. So
apparently me, Tornado Girl, because apparently in Tony's eyes I'm a sex pest.
What's in the chat?
Ignore him.
I'm really bitter. So Andy, this is why Tony's. I mean, my friend who's jealous says horrible things to me and hurts my feelings and fat shames me.
Oh no!
I've only once,
and he likes you more because he's heard of the thought of getting a bit of docking in with you.
How many times have you cussed me for being vegan on the show?
Well, that's no fault of your own, is it?
What else have you cussed me for being on the show?
Breathing in and out.
Exactly. There you go. So
that's a valid argument.
One fat shaming in 2.5 years isn't too bad.
2018 now, Tony. You could have got away with that last.
Okay, you're fat and gay. There you go.
I'm allowed to be gay.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Dear, hang on. Let me. Dear Agony Andy RC, I am attracted to transgender women. Does that make me gay?
Yes.
Are traps gay, Andy RC? Dangerously coming into Coxcomb territory.
You see, I've only ever met well, until recently, I'd only ever met Tony and Jack together, and they are like this constantly. So it was interesting to
Not an act.
It was interesting to see Tony on his own, but then when Jack was on his own, I became Tony. Like I was the target, you know.
Oh, I feel sorry for you. See, that is what I have to put up with.
And I think
maybe we should just ditch him.
I've said this on the. I've said this.
Go. All right. Bye.
I've said this before, but I think there's more me. There's more Tony in me than Jack, and in Wayne, there's more Jack in him than Tony.
Because that's not gay having Tony in you. I'd just like to point that out. Homophobic Tony.
And to answer your question, Jack, the answer is no if they took it between the legs.
Back to the old tranny tap.
Yeah. The whole lot has to go on.
What happened to this podcast, man?
When was it ever anything different, Tony?
I know.
There's been drone chat. It's just mixed in with tucks and things. But I don't think you can have. If you had like 2 lots of Tonys and 2 lots of Jacks, then it wouldn't work. You've got to mash them together to create that conflict and interest.
He knows I love him and he loves me back. He just doesn't.
Well, he's saying in the chat that he's done. Goodbye, guys. He says he's gone. Been fun.
He'll be back in a minute. Let's fat shame him until he comes back. He's going on to his big gay farm. See,
is that what you go. The toilet now?
Yeah, you see,
that wasn't even me that time, Jack.
Andrew manages to stay pretty neutral, but wow, that was a burn.
Oh, no.
That shows my distaste for the is gay farming.
Oh, yeah.
All right, I'll ask another regulation question.
Okay.
to see if anybody's on board with this. Is there anybody here that always flies to the rules, or even ever flies to the rules? Because I can never get the requirement of a spotter, for example, when I fly FPV. I know
Spotter is tricky,
and I know Andy's generally by himself by his dog shit bin.
So from my experience, what I've learned flying, you know, because I've always only ever flown in places that I know like the back of my hand, so I know sort of how to fly safe. However, you know, at places like the towers and new places that I'd never been, I quickly learned that spotters are so important because we went. I tell you, so my first experience flying with these guys was at the Rocks, so the Roaches at the Peak District, and I flew, and I just thought, oh, it's just going to be like any normal flight, and I instantly got lost, because everywhere was rocks. Every rock looked the same. And the same thing happened at the towers as well. And this is the thing, people are like, oh, go try and get through the little gaps. And what's funny about the towers is there's 5 of them, and you instantly don't know which one you're standing by because they're 300 foot. And so I think if you know your location, and I think you can be, and it's just a field with no objects and stuff like that. I think you can be really safe. But if it's the first time flying a new spot, you know, Jack has it. He has what he calls his return to home jacket. It's a fluorescent jacket, and I wondered why I was wearing it first, and then I was all of a sudden using it to find my way back to where we were. So I think just like Chad says, you've got to use your common sense, really, and you know, if you're flying in a group of people as well, it's good to spot each other because you're pushing each other as well to try and get decent footage. So I think
what I'm talking about here, sort of the technical rule infringements that we perhaps all do if we're in a known field versus the safety thing. And I tend to agree. And when people say about starting off, I will always say get a spotter, because the first time you go up, it can be quite disorientating. You've never seen that place from up in the air before. Even if you know a field quite well, it can look different. But in terms of, do you need one to be safe? It depends on circumstances again, like everything else. So I'm all for rules when when they enhance safety, when they just seem to be there for the sake of it or for getting, I don't know.
I think it's like Chad says, you know, you can use your common sense and be safe, and you don't have to be following the rules. It's like how you know, it's funny that I get some abuse in the comments sometimes about where I fly, but then you compare it to the guys in America who are bouncing off buildings that are in operation and stuff like that. But it doesn't necessarily mean they're being unsafe. They're just making calculated, common sense decisions. Sometimes they take it too far, like, you know, the bridge dive and all of that business. But I think common sense overrides the law sometimes as well. Like, you know.
Well, I think it should do, but I don't know if that will ever stand up in a court of law. It'd be an interesting one to, like, you know, he said, okay, you couldn't see your quad and you were a kilometre away, but being a kilometre away in a bunch of empty fields 10 meters off the floor is a bit different from, you know, going out of control in the middle of New York City, isn't it? But will that be judged on?
Yeah, it's true. It's like, yeah, flying a kilometer away over a city is different than flying a kilometer away over just fields and fields of nothing, isn't it? So
the thing I'd worry about flying, I mean, for me, it's the flying far away, flying long range. If you don't have someone look, you know, as a spotter to tell you what's going on from, you know, outside the goggles, then say there's a horse rider out in one of those fields, it's had an accident and there's an air ambulance on their way, you're not going to know about it until it appears in your view. But if, you know, that might be too late. But if you've got a spotter, they can tell you there's something coming close, you should probably either get back or land or whatever's the safe thing to do from what they can see.
Well, I mean, the thing is, if the spotter can spot it, then you can hear it. And as soon as you're hearing it in the sky, yeah.
This is why I don't do long range. Long range doesn't interest me that much. And the way I fly, I always make sure, you know, if you don't, especially with race drones or whatever, if you don't fly directly over a person or a property, or, you know, I always make sure I'm flying away from stuff. I always make sure that if at any point I'm having a fail safe, it's just going to land on the grass. And you know, and people say, oh, your videos are sometimes boring because it's just in an open field, you're not doing proximity. And yeah, I would do more of those risky things, but it'd be putting more danger involved in it and stuff. So that's why I'm very conservative with where I fly, but for the most part. And so that's my opinion on it, really.
Well, that's using common sense safety, which I think, you know, we can all do.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, you can say, as responded Frank, there's sort of exceptional circumstances that come up in sometimes. Like, okay, there's an air ambulance on its way. So how do we mitigate that?
Because you'll hear it before you.
Well, this is what I'm saying. I mean, you could be the next field over from where the air ambulance is arriving, but you've still got that problem. But, you know, I tend to agree that you'd sort of hear it before you spot it.
I think as well, if we were having loads of occasions of air ambulance having to dodge drones, then yeah, but we're not.
But
it's
really not about, you know, stopping something from happening that's happening commonly. It's about, if it did happen, it wouldn't be, oh, that's a shame. It would be, you are going to prison for a long time. We all our toys are being taken away, and it's all on you. That's, and from experience, where I used to fly line of sight fixed wing, completely out of nowhere, there's no airfield anywhere nearby, but someone decided it'd be fun to have a touch and go on a field behind us, and I was up in the air, and I wouldn't have known about it if it wasn't for the fact that everyone started screaming full scale. because by the time I heard it, it had already been and gone pretty much.
Rob Britton says the Lord and God is my spotter.
I liked what
I like that.
MC Creation said. The government has no common sense. I quite like that one.
Yeah, I quite like that as well. Everyone's screaming, "Jack, come back!"
So I suppose
Jack, can you come back, please? Because everyone's screaming.
Follow-up to that one, Frank, is when Google and Amazon get their way in, we'll be flying drones in a sub 500-foot space. There's got to be some sort of traffic management for that. So why couldn't we tap in for that? Why isn't there an alert system?
Oh yeah, when that happens, we could.
There's a helicopter coming in.
They're not allowed to do that because it doesn't exist. So,
I think perhaps maybe the NOTAM system maybe needs to be updated. Like so if you want to do a balloon flight or launch a rocket or send a Buzz Lightyear into space on a or whatever it is, on those weather balloons or whatever, then you can do that. So maybe it needs to be easier for us to maybe have an app and say,
well, that exists. You can do that.
What, through an app? And you get into sort of
the NATS Drone Assist app allows you to mark on the map that you are about to fly a drone.
Yeah, right, well, let's talk about this. What's it called? And say it slowly so everyone can naturally get it.
I'm going to use this 10-kilometer radius up to about 1,000 meters, for example.
You could try.
Yeah, but how does let's just say you do that, and then how does a plane that's flying over the minute you post it know that you're there? Do you know what I mean? That I think, there needs to be some. I don't know what the answer.
Well, that sounds like it's a good option though. So what's the app called again?
It's called the NATS Drone Assist app, and it uses a login thing that I can never remember, and I can never log into it.
So you get to a field and go, right, I'm about to fly. This is where I am.
Yeah.
And is that connected
that might be worth everyone having.
Is it connected to NOTAM though?
Yeah, it's the same people.
Yeah, and then they notify people in the area.
That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
It also tells you, are other things going on? Are you in a particular controlled airspace? All that kind of thing.
So what happens then if you say, okay, I'm going to be flying my drone in this field, and it's like, oh, okay, but then an emergency helicopter wants to come into the field next door. Does it tell you about it?
I believe it actually does.
It does.
It has an alert.
It sounds like it's worth getting.
So perhaps we should all be promoting this.
Write it down. Download it. Check it out.
Nuts. There you go. Wayne, I'll look forward to your video on this tomorrow.
Someone do a video on it, please.
Make sure you don't forget your password, because I have, and I can't work out how to get back in.
I was like one of those things saying, I forgot my password. What is your email address?
No, it's not that simple.
Yeah.
It just says you've had your chance.
Yeah, pretty much.
Go. What about creating a new login ID?
Well, it's linked to your phone, so I don't think or your Google account, I think, or something, some phone thing. I don't know.
I
have tried, and it became too much of a hassle, and I couldn't be bothered.
Mikey Dread said it's probably Frank123.
Did you try password with a 0 instead of an O?
Yeah, that's funny, Mikey.
I tried that one. I'll have a go.
Mikey Dread, that is funny. Frank123. That's going to be one of my passwords now.
But I do think that, personally, I don't think that flying long range is defensible at the moment when even the people with the big money are allowed to do it.
Can we just define what long range is in this instance?
Yeah, how far is long range? Because I've done 2.5 miles.
Because some people think it's not long range until you're like over 10k. Other people think going beyond a 1.
When I'm saying long range, I mean beyond visual line of sight, as in you have a spotter, but they can't actually see you anymore because you're too small a dot on the horizon.
About 400 meters.
There you go. Whatever it happens to be, based on.
Shouldn't it be based on your age and your eyesight as well?
Well, it's based on for me, I think it's based on your age, your eyesight, the weather conditions, the local area, all sorts of things.
Also, if you fly at night and have LED lights, you can see
You can see a lot further. Yes.
But that doesn't seem as safe following the common sense rules, does it? You can see less about what's around you.
I guess you wouldn't be able to see the landscape as much to be able to judge whether or not the safe thing is to land or not, or fly back or do whatever else. You can't judge distance as much. But I don't know.
Okay, so I interrupted. So you were saying long range is somewhat indefensible at the moment.
At the moment, when even the people with the big bucks aren't allowed to do it. They're allowed to practice doing autonomous flights, but they're not allowed to go, crazy distances at the moment. But I do think that we should be worrying about having places to actually fly, even in proximity. When all the national trust places and commons and everywhere else are kind of making up bylaws or making up rules saying no drone flying, and we have nowhere that we're actually allowed to go and fly, then I think we're screwed.
Yeah, it seems all of a sudden it's fine for anyone to just put a sign up that says no drones, and it's usually a picture of a phantom with a line through it. I was speaking to some local FPV guys, and they're talking about spots around about where the towers are, and they were saying how many sites have got that like a no drone sign on them.
Yeah.
But what allows them to do that over at a public place?
I mean, that's the question. I would generally have said when it first started, we should kind of respect it. But I think now, when more and more places are saying that, and there's fewer places that we can legitimately fly, even when there's no one around, and it's not gonna, you're not causing a risk because you're just flying in a little spot around you, and it doesn't really matter. I think if we don't carry on flying, we're going to end up without anywhere to fly. And recently I was listening to another podcast.
Boo!
What?
No,
was it a flying one? Was it a drone one?
It wasn't a drone one. Completely unrelated.
Okay, I'll let you can carry on then.
They were talking about, and this is 99PI, which is quite a big podcast. They were talking about the UK right to roam, which is why I titled this.
It's all come full circle.
Yeah. So up until, from like the 1700s to the 1930s ish, more and more land in the UK was restricted from walking across it. So the Peak District wasn't full of rights of way and people wandering around it. It was all private land with groundskeepers that would chase you off with shotguns. Until there was a mass, it was the peak was a mass act of civil disobedience of going up one of the mountains in the Peak District.
Yes,
like we did.
I like civil disobedience. I can't say it because I've drunk too much.
The only problem with civil disobedience
I like it.
with FPV is we can only get about 6 people up at once.
There is that.
We'll run out of frequency.
I'm not saying we should all en masse take off FPV and be buzzing around a mountain, but
I do.
Idea.
Yeah, that sounds cool. Let's go.
It does.
Road trip.
It does sound like fun, but it worked for the Ramblers to do that, and then from the Rambling Association, they managed to get public rights of way and national parks and all sorts of things that mean that you can go wandering through the countryside, to the point where we kind of take it for granted now that that's a thing you can do. But the really interesting thing for me about the story that they told was that there was this one particular group that did this, but there were all other sorts of local rambling groups nearby that thought this was a terrible idea and you should just respect the rules and walk where people will say you're allowed to walk, and that way you won't get banned from walking places. And it kind of really made me think of RC and FPV. Actually, we kind of need to get it allowed in more places.
David says no one owns airspace. You can only be stopped from taking off.
Yeah,
I guess that's true.
I think we should go on another LDO road trip and fly around places that we're not allowed to, like
totally.
We should crash them into those no drone signs.
Yeah.
Yes, in slow-mo.
That would be a viral video, wouldn't it, if you did that? But you'd be vandalizing then if you did that, you see.
Not if you had a failsafe. Not my fault.
I followed the rules.
Tony's frame rubbed against me and my aerial came off.
It's an interesting point, though, isn't it? Because there's... have you guys heard of this Urbex thing that people do? Which is similar to what we do, except they walk.
It's a good way of finding spots to fly is going on all the Urbex sites.
Yeah.
I haven't heard of this. Explain it for me.
So it's short for urban exploring, and it's basically going into abandoned places. Like, so there's quite a few YouTube channels. Somebody I don't know, broke into isn't the right word, because these places are usually open or have a gap in a gate. So I think that's an interesting topic as well.
Particularly on the YouTube videos, they will show you that it was open before I got here, therefore it's not breaking and entering.
There was definitely a gap.
There was definitely
where we went
on
Monday.
Definitely.
So the one I watched was actually the old Caterham Formula One team building had been left abandoned. There's a cool video of literally the front door being open and them walking around, and is that and it's interesting as well, Tone, isn't it? When we were at the cooling towers, it said there were signs up that said some stuff about crime, but not about like you can't be here sort of thing, was there? There was like so.
And there was holes in fences, and we just walked through them. We didn't touch them. We just was able to walk through them.
And it was very safe in there because it's a few kilometers squared of nothingness except the towers, So
well, that is what the Ramblers managed to do, was make it so that trespass, instead of being what at one point in history was a capital offence, and then was a criminal offence, and then the Ramblers made sure that it is no longer a criminal offence. It is kind of rude, but not actually illegal.
Because no one has the intent. Well, certainly not at our age, the intention of damaging anything. It's the purpose of exploring, having fun with your friends.
It's hot out and everyone's got their front doors open. Are we allowed to walk into people's houses? Just having to walk round.
As long as you don't break anything or damage something to get in, then it's.
I kind of think though that goes against the argument.
I want FB videos of people flying into people's houses now.
Because you wouldn't want that in your own house, though, would you? You would not want someone to just walk in.
Yeah, there's legal and there's ethical and there's socially acceptable.
Yeah, exactly.
What is it if I walk into someone's house and their door's open because they're hot? Can I do that legally?
Legally, yes.
Oh, this is brilliant.
This is legal advice from Frank.
Although, I am not a lawyer. I don't know what I'm talking about.
I will stand in court and go, but Frank said it was all right.
Well, I will say that
Frank said it was fine.
It's not a criminal offence.
Right.
I've got to say, it is incredibly hard, I thought, to find places like this, because as soon as something closes and there's a space, then it's we're all crowded in this country. It's worth money. Fences go up, it gets demolished, new things get built there. There's almost no gap in between. You hardly ever find just a building. Even if you look at Google Maps, I used to do this to try and find sort of places to fly until I found a bit for me. But I'm always looking for places to fly fixed wing with a bit more room. And I look at the map around me, and there's loads of green area, and you're like, this is all farmland. But if you drive down there, there's just massive sort of hedgerows either side, and you cannot get onto a land.
You see, Wayne, what you have to do is you have to adapt the technique that Tony has adapted, which is bribing people. Tony, anywhere you go with Tony, he's like, oh, it'll be all right. We'll give him 50 quid. Come on, let's all chip in.
50?
A nifty, always a nifty. It normally works.
Nifty. You are right, though. In fact, those towers are very unique in that they've been derelict for 20 years for some reason, or some unknown reason. And there is. I'm the same. If anyone's asking me, where to fly in this area, I couldn't tell you, because like you say, it's all boarded up, it's fenced up. And what I find amazing is like the videos that you see on YouTube from America. It seems like there's just abandoned buildings everywhere.
You just have to wander out 5 minutes and you will find it. I mean, they've got a lot more room there.
Yeah, for them it's cheap
some
to build
states,
a new
they're just huge.
Take down the old one.
Yeah. We don't really have that here.
But what we do have are ridiculous planning permission laws that mean that, or rules at least, that mean that there are loads of buildings that will sit there empty for years waiting for an architect to finish what he's doing, get it passed by council, and then actually get the money to build it, and everything falls apart in that time and they start there again. So there are, if you know the places, then they do hang around for a little bit and fly them while they're there. But yeah, Urbex sites are very good for giving.
Is there an FPV version of Urbex sites?
Let's make one then.
Urbex. Flying Urban Exploring.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, 28 Days Later is a good website. I highly recommend it.
There you go.
Apparently, we've got to play. Right, who wants to play Oi Andy RC? You're a Northerner. Right, I think that's up next. Jack?
Well,
So
I
I think Jack is pointing to his watch.
Jack, come on. We're
we are
playing the Northerner thing. You've got to unmute yourself and talk.
Right, Andy RC. Oi, you're Northern. Andy, what is a hinny?
A hinny? Oh, Jesus. You know what? Do you know what was really funny? I told Jack, like, there's this thing that I'm Northern, and then people saw that I was at Wellington, and someone was like, what? I thought you were from up north, and I'm like, yeah,
you are for us.
Well, I seem to be, but yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. Yeah, but we need a website for stuff like that for FPV. Maybe there is one, and we just don't know about it.
We're not with the cool kids that know it.
Yeah, exactly.
What's a hinny?
I have no. Are you going to make me Google it again?
No. Yeah.
Where's this question come from, Jack? Hinny.
It's gone to Urban Dictionary again.
Green Patches says this is the new
favorite
part of the show.
It says here a hinny is the offspring of a female donkey. And now I'm going to type in hinny.
I like the fact it's an offspring of a female donkey as opposed to a male donkey. That would be something else.
Yep.
Jenny and Jack is a female donkey's called a Jenny, and a male donkey's called a Jack.
Thank you, Farmer Jack.
I've just looked
So that's why you're such an arse. Boom, boom. Sorry.
I looked it up on Urban Dictionary, and there's nothing. So it sounds like a genuine term for once. But
what was he actually right?
But I'm not Northern, so this segment never works.
You are.
Come on, what do you think it is? Have a guess.
Well, I just said it says here it's a female donkey or a female horse. It says.
Well, you're pretty quick. Wife or female partner, and it's a term from Newcastle.
Ah, there you go. When Painless was on last week, all of a sudden it was like a different language that was being spoken. So, yeah.
And it's usage. Do us a scran hinny, I'm clamming.
Oh my dear. Oh my.
Which means do us a sandwich or something. I don't know what a scran is. Does anyone know what a scran is?
Didn't we do scran last week?
No, we done.
Oh, scran, no.
No, clangy.
We can't go out on an empty belly. Any chance of some scran? I imagine it's food. Scran.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is so enlightening. The northern world.
Yeah.
It is a sandwich. Food sandwich. Scran is just food.
What about southern sayings? Why don't we ever cover that?
Because that's just English.
That would be sandwich.
Sandwich. Yeah, that's a bottom reference lost on everyone.
I love bottom. Sorry, I have to.
Sorry. So there's a picture of like, you know, the wine tasters, and it has Southerner, and it goes, I'm getting raspberry with a hint of freshly baked dough and a chocolate finish. And then there's Northerner drinking wine, and it says, I'm just getting pissed. So
that's about right. Right, I'm going to do a little shout out quickly in the chat. Djokovic is in the chat. Don Holmes in the chat. Falling with Star. Wayne, what's up? Win Davis is in chat. Tribal Anonymous FBB's in the chat. Clive's in the chat. Rob Britton's in the chat. Richard Harwood's in the chat. Mikey Dread obviously is always in the chat. What's up, Mikey? Green Patches. Hello. Is that Canadian for hello? I don't know. He's in Canada. Who else we got?
1,000 accents.
Bill M, Dave Story, MC Creations. What's up? I think he's from Mexico. I don't know.
Oh, man, MC Creations is on every video. He put so much effort in. Well done to MC Creations.
We love him. Who else is in the chat? Fallen Musa. We've had Tornado go in the chat. Hello. I think that's it. That's all I can scroll through at the moment.
No.
Art Faulkner. Hello.
Does anyone care about the football straw poll results?
No.
I'd rather be dead with 82%. Yes, anything's better than Let's Drone Out. It comes in at 12%, and kind of comes in at 6%.
The thing is, someone's clicked that whilst watching the show and not football.
I reckon it's Jack.
Yeah,
no, I voted for I'd rather be dead.
I voted for the one what's better than LDO.
What? Who's winning, by the way? You know, the people from where we're from. What's the score?
Spoilers.
We lost. Belgium won.
What? It's finished already.
Yep.
Oh man, does that mean it's the end of the?
We're not out though, but apparently Mikey Dread said it'll be better for us that we come second, so it was probably all planned. There you go.
Yes. Anyway, Jack, do you want to wrap us up?
Yep. Tonight you've been listening to Let's Drone Out. Big shout out to our Patreons who keep this shit show afloat.
Speak for yourself.
I love you guys. I'm sorry I've been lacking on the editing lately, but I have been very on a lot of drugs.
Not the good ones.
Yeah. We've been joined by Andrew/Frank.
Yes. Goodbye.
Andy RC.
Good night, everyone. Thanks for listening.
Curry Kitten.
Goodbye, all.
Myself. And the Lord and Master, Tony of everything.
Bonjour.
Forgive me, my overlord, for I have sinned against you with enjoying Curry Kitten. And I will be over on Twitch playing Gay Farming.
I might actually come and watch you do that.
The link's in the chat. Guys, Andy RC, Curry Kitten, Bolt, you want to join?
Do all the things.
Yeah, come on.
I think you should do what you did last time and have us over the top of you playing, because that.
No, I need you guys to work and get me money.
Well, pay us then, and we will.
Is it? Thanks everyone in chat. We love you lots. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. See you on Twitch.